Okay.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to call to order this public hearing. It's Monday, December 11th, 2017. We're at the Buchanan City Hall. It is now 7 p.m. We're calling to order a public hearing to review and hear public comments on an ordinance amending the City of Buchanan, Michigan Code of Ordinances, Chapter 34, Elections, Article 2. Even year elections, Section 34-29, filing of nominating petitions. Is there anyone that would like to come and make a comment about this ordinance? Come right on up, sir. Yes, come right on up. Is that okay? I will let Gladys explain it. Gladys, go right.
And mics are not on, I don't think.
Yeah, they should be. They're on. You just have to speak into the microphone.
Okay, I'll do better. Is that better?
Test. Mine's not on.
Or do you want me to just? Oh. All right.
It's an amendment to an ordinance that is only changing one word in nominating petitions. When the city commission has an election and the terms are up, a interested candidate has to file nominating petitions. There's a certain process in the election law that handles that, and the state law changed to the 15th Tuesday prior to an election. Our current ordinance says the 12th Tuesday. So we're actually only changing one word from the 12th Tuesday to the 15th Tuesday.
We weren't in compliance, basically.
It's
All
a
right.
state thing.
Okay, now does anyone have, now that we've clarified what we're doing, does anyone have comments, questions? All right, with that, I will adjourn the public hearing. And now I will call to order our regular city commission meeting. It's Monday, December 11th. We're at the Buchanan City Hall. And if everyone would please join us in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. This evening we are being joined by Pastor Dave Mitchell, and he will be leading us in the invocation. Pastor Dave?
Thank you. Father, we thank you for this community. Thank you for the leadership, our commissions, our city commissioner, and everyone involved with the process of this community's business. Thank you for the wisdom that comes down from above, pure, peaceable, with no hypocrisy, not partiality, but true to the agenda that you have for us. Thank you for blessing our community in the time of giving and the season of love. We thank you for it and receive that gift that you have given. And we give you all that praise. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Dave. All right, and with that, we're on item number 3, roll call. Gladys?
Hess,
Here?
Moore. Here. Turney,
Here.
Bianski,
Yes.
Cole. Here. You have a quorum, Your Honor.
Thank you, Gladys. I believe that we were supposed to have the Chamber of Commerce Director introduction this evening, but they were unable to come, so they are asking to move to our next commission meeting. So if you're wondering why I skipped A, I'm sorry, I forgot to announce that. So the Chamber of Commerce will come to our next meeting, and they will introduce the new director then. We are now up to item number 4, public comments. Citizens are allowed up to 3 minutes to discuss any agenda item. And before I take volunteers, we have made some changes in City Hall. One of the rules to come to a public meeting is you are to address the commission. And we had problems with our microphone being placed over there, which kind of led people to talk to the audience. When you come, make sure that you're making your comments to us. You can come up to the podium. If you have papers to read from, you're more than welcome to use it. But we will go ahead and accept public comment. You're allowed 3 minutes to discuss any agenda item. Any takers this evening? Okay, and with there being no people that would like to make public comment, we'll move on to item number 5, which is our consent calendar. Can I get a motion to approve?
One question.
All right.
It's kind of petty, but we're trying to, should we not sign the checks till after we approve them?
We've discussed that before, and probably the best course of action would wait till the end of the meeting to assign the checks. But that is and point of order from Commissioner Moore.
The checks aren't dispensed until they're signed, so unless there was some issue, a consent calendar means that it's a non-controversial thing. So in anticipation of that, and I'm sure if there was a question with a certain check, the city clerk would pull the questionable check, correct? Even if it was signed and destroyed, if there was,
Yes, it would be voided.
so.
Okay.
I personally feel it makes no difference whether they're signed ahead of time or later after the meeting.
Okay. And Gladys, what's your opinion regarding that, since you're the clerk? Sorry, I don't mean to put you in the hot seat, but
They really shouldn't be signed until they're approved.
okay. All right, well, that's something to consider for the future. And with that, I still need a motion to approve our consent calendar.
Also move.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
Moved by Cole, seconded by Turney. Can I get a roll call, please?
Moore,
Yes.
Carney,
Yes.
Bianski,
Yes.
Cole? Yes. Hess?
Yes.
Unanimous, Your Honor.
Thank you. Now we're moving on to item number 6, reports by departments, committees, and boards. This evening, for letter A, will be hearing from the Buchanan Youth Softball Association, and Chris Kittemeyer will be speaking this evening. Welcome, Chris.
Hello. I don't know if you guys are totally familiar with our league. I'm sure most of you are. Roughly, we have 360 kids, ages 4 through 14. This past year, we added a field down at the park, a new t-ball field and /8U field for the girls and boys. We started to branch out a little bit and involve other communities with our league, such as Three Oaks and New Buffalo. This year, we plan on possibly doing something like that with Berrien Springs and Bridgman. As far as improvements for this year, we are looking to finish the softball field /t-ball field. We're roughly about $4,000 to finish the fencing on the field. And then additionally, we go to the bar board and get approved. We're going to maybe move the sheds that are down there or restore equipment to a different location at the park, along with the batting cages, to the other end of the park where the tennis courts used to be, to kind of make just an area for that stuff to be in and kind of open up the other side. Other than that, not a whole lot going on. If you guys have any questions?
Okay.
Sure.
Commissioner Turney?
I have a couple, Chris. When you sign a check, is there a dollar amount? Or let me put it this way, your checks, if it goes over a dollar amount, does there need a second signature on that check, or is it just one?
The check is voted on and approved at a board meeting, and then the current treasurer signs the check.
Okay, and one other question. when you, I know, I looked at your, I guess you could call it an income and balance sheet statement. When you purchase something, you know, you put the dollar amount for the, but you don't put what was broken down for that check. I'm just trying to see where
We actually-
checks and balances.
We actually gave the bar board or a line-by-line item of every purchase, income and outgoing. I don't know if maybe you didn't see that one.
Well, I gave
You
one.
probably saw the generic sheet that kind of broke down fundraising, income, all-star,
Right,
stuff like
it was
that.
kind of-
We actually gave a line-by-line item of every purchase and every income.
I gave that to Commissioner Moore.
Your Honor.
Yes. Commissioner Moore?
Yeah, that's what we're actually referring to. There, even though that was more detailed than you've ever submitted to us before, and I thank you for that, that generated some questions about some of the categories that were assigned to some of the expenses
Okay.
were not really clear to us. So we've been trying to have you come to this meeting to answer those questions. So we wanted to know what that process was of how the checks are generated. And then there was like a 20,000 difference between last year and this current year. So that was like in league improvements. And so could you kind of explain what some things would be league improvements versus your general expenditures?
Before you answer that,
Hang on a minute.
No, before he answers this, I want it spelled out as to exactly what, you know, I don't think under your bylaws, you have to answer to us at all. So, I mean, did you look at your bylaws?
I wrote the bylaws.
You wrote the bylaws, so you have to do,
Pat,
Point of order.
hang a minute. Pat has the floor. You can go next.
no, I don't want him to answer any questions unless it's explained, because I want to understand what the bylaws are.
After.
Your Honor.
Yes.
When this current group of people that are in the BYSBA have worked very closely after kind of not being able to communicate very well, we've had much better communications with this board. And we've actually, when I first came on the bar, that was one of the concerns, was updating the bylaws. So that is a combined effort, and his bylaws have been approved by the BARB and I believe really by the commission too, right? Because we pass all that information forward. So, but the responsibility of the BARB and this commission is oversight. Not that we're trying to run or tell you what to buy or what not to buy. But there is an oversight responsibility that we have. So, just take this, as a learning experience. Like I said, you have given us a lot more detail, but that detail then is bringing some questions to mind.
Sure.
So yes, you have a responsibility to answer on behalf of your organization because you're using public property. So, and I'm sure you understand that.
Yes, we do understand that. When we came on the board, we had no bylaws that we were aware of or we could find from any previous board member. We had no financial statements. We were handed a checkbook and a folder with sign-up forms. So we came up with the bylaws ourselves, had them reviewed by an attorney, voted on them, amended them. As far as the financials go, we don't feel we have to answer to anybody as far as that goes, but we have nothing to hide, so that's why we provide the information. We are representing the people who invest in our league, so we have any information anybody wants, they're free to ask for. Do you have an example of one of the questions on the financials?
Your Honor.
Yes.
Yeah, one of the questions I had was like, for instance, iTunes cards. Were those given as rewards or something? There were some
Yes.
items. And then there were a couple items that were for cash, like $400 or so. But there was no maybe that was to pay the umpires. I don't know. That's what we're missing is
Right.
that.
No, if you look on the line items, when you see, normally probably what you see on a cash is my name next to it.
Right.
We have 3 account cards at our bank. One goes to our treasurer, who also has a checkbook. One goes to our concession. We actually have 2 lazy concession. And one goes to our equipment purchaser. I did not get a card. I was someone who was available during the day, though. For example, I can tell you the $400 was for a popcorn machine because it blew up in the middle of a game. So we took it out, and one of our board members went on in South Bend and picked up another popcorn machine. Probably what we need to do is have the treasurer put
Right, footnote.
a footnote.
That, I think, would really clarify all the questions that we've come up with.
Right.
So, I mean, in a way, it's like ironic that you're giving us a lot more detail and being very transparent about it, but that kind of lack of, we didn't know what that was for. So that made us question what the cash is being used for.
I guess my question, or our question would be, and it's, like I said, we have no problem explaining anything, is what makes us different than anybody else that's at the park?
Yes.
You're not different. Every other group that is a subcommittee of the BARB also submits budgets. Also, other city groups like the Fine Arts Council submits a budget. So, you know, and there's an accountability from all of those groups that use the public property. So you're
What
not really.
constitutes a group that uses the park? I mean, what's the
Public property?
what's the
Like,
standard?
well, like Fine Arts Council uses the Tin Shop, which is the Preservation Society uses Pierce Mill. So you've got multiple people using public property. That means that we have that oversight responsibility. So,
Yes, Commissioner Dan?
Do you know Mike Payne?
I do.
That's my son-in-law.
I know. Went to school with them.
Do you know Danielle Ernstberger?
I do.
Call both of them. Just call and talk to them. Mike was very involved down there, and that's why I question this. Do you have a lease with the city for that property?
We do not.
So you have no agreement for that property?
Not at this moment. We are currently, I believe we're working on one. I have it in front of me
Okay.
that we're working on
That
with
just
the
came
city.
up, or,
Just came up this past week.
yeah, last month or so? Yeah.
Other than that, it's just been a
For the last
verbal
15
agreement.
years?
In lack of better terms, not that we, actually, as far as the league goes, we make a horrible investment because we invest all of our league's money into something that's not ours. It can be apparently taken away or amended whenever it wants, so that's why we just want clarification on exactly.
Well, technically it can't, even though they're trying to tell you it can.
That's kind of,
You're a
that was
separate
my,
entity.
that was my comment, as what makes us different from anybody else, what makes us different from a travel baseball team that
You're a
practices
separate
down
entity
there.
upon yourself, sir.
Yes.
You're not affiliated with the city. You're not affiliated with the school. You used to be affiliated with the school because the director of athletics run it. You don't have a lease with the property. You're on the property, but since you don't have a lease, you don't have to answer to us. You do this out of goodwill, basically. That's what you're doing this. And I appreciate the goodwill, and there's some accounting things that are questionable, but it's none of our business. And don't let anybody tell you, and I don't want to get into a match with anybody up here, but I talked to Mike Payne extensively about it and the arrangements, and you're not affiliated with the city of Buchanan. You are using property in the city of Buchanan, but it's up to us to have a lease, and we should have had a lease a long time ago.
Okay.
So,
Commissioner Moore?
Your Honor, that last statement was not accurate. The BYSBA is a part of the monthly meeting of the Buchanan Area Recreation Board. They're part of our 5-year plan. They participate, are asked to participate in the meetings. Sometimes they come and participate, sometimes they don't. But they are an integral part of the city, and they are considered a subcommittee of the BARB. So the BARB has responsibilities for the featuring of the use of the parks, and that is one use of the park which we basically are very happy with working with this group. It's not that they're singled out. We have similar relationships with multiple other groups, as I just pointed out. So, no, it isn't as you were just told.
Okay, and from my standpoint, we are very grateful that you run such a successful program for our youth. But we all watch our TVs at night, and occasionally some group, whether it be scouts or a dance troupe. Sometimes there are questionable accounting practices, and we're just trying to make sure that because you use city property, that everything's just the way it should be. And we thank you for coming this evening, and we do appreciate all you offer our youth. And I'll let Commissioner Turney ask a question.
Thank you, Your Honor. The only reason why I brought this information up is my job when I was working was credit and collection. And when I'm looking at that, there was nothing but red flags. And all I wanted basically is an explanation of where it was going to protect you, first off, okay? And because you're using city property, that's why I was thinking of, okay, all I wanted is, okay, cash, where did it go? That's all. Put a little footnote behind it, and you say, okay, popcorn machine. That's fine. If it's not there, then for me, that's a red flag. So that was one reason why I'm asking these questions.
I understand that. I mean, we're not
Protecting
Yeah.
you too,
lawyers or
Nope.
accountants, we're just volunteers, so,
just like us.
Yes, thank you.
all right.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you
for
very
coming.
much for coming. We
Appreciate it.
appreciate it. Thank you. All right, and with that, we'll move on to item number 7, unfinished business. We will be considering ordinance 2017.12, an ordinance to amend the City of Buchanan, Michigan Code of Ordinances, Chapter 34, Elections, Article 2, Even Year Elections, Section 39-29, Filing of Nominating Petitions.
Mayor and Commissioners, as you heard a little bit through the public hearing, we've been actually kind of delinquent in correcting this, the small change but significant change in the date of the nominating petition submissions. The state actually contacted us and reminded us that we were in noncompliance and that we need to address this in our ordinances. So Gladys moved forward in presenting the ordinance change for our consideration. Again, the change is fairly minor, but we will now comply with the state election law.
Okay, any questions?
Gladys, do you have anything more to add, or?
The only other thing that I could add is that next year, 2018, will be an election year for the city commission. 3 seats will be up for election, and the deadline on those nominating petitions will be April 24th at 5 p.m. That's on a Tuesday. That will be the 15th Tuesday prior to the August election.
So one more time, you said April 24th at 5 p.m.
April 24th at 5 p.m.
If someone is interested in running for a seat, they should come visit you to get all the paperwork and everything. Is that the correct? Okay. Because I've had people complain about the job I'm doing and they might want my seat.
Anytime after January 1st, correct?
Yes, okay.
Anytime after January 1st?
So in the interest of transparency, April 24th at 5 p.m. All right. So anybody else have any questions for Gladys? Questions for Bill? If not, I need a motion, please.
I'll make the move to amend the ordinance to amend the City of Buchanan, Michigan Code of Ordinance, Chapter 34, Elections, Article 2, Even Year Elections, Section 34-29, Filing of Nominating Petitions.
Okay, and I'll need a second. Okay. Moved by Turney, supported by Cole. Can we have a roll call, please?
Moore,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Bianski,
Yes.
Cole? Yes. Tarney?
Yes.
Unanimous, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, Gladys.
That would be ordinance 406.
Thank you very much. All right, moving on to item number 8, new business. We are at letter A, consider a bid waiver and purchase of nozzle replacements from Moses Fire Equipment in the amount of $13,627 for the fire department. And this evening, we will be joined by Fire Chief Mike Adams and firefighter Evan Kaufman. Come on up, gentlemen. We don't bite.
You guys told him good luck?
All right, good evening.
Good evening.
All right.
Thank you.
So for correction, this is Lieutenant.
Oh, sorry,
Evan Kaufman.
Lieutenant. I'm sorry.
So, it's all right. So yeah, we're here again. That sounds like a lot of money when you read it that way, but, so, again, we're here, we're asking for approval for that. It's not new money, it's money that, obviously has been set
It's in
aside
your
for us
budget.
for, as you guys know, we've been working real hard at replacing a lot of the out-of-service, or I would say past its, not out-of-service, but past its service life equipment that we've had. You know, we've been currently working on replacing our, all of our fire gear, and getting a lot of things with the trucks and everything up to date like it should be. So that's what this is. So the nozzles that we're currently using, or probably 90% of the nozzles we're currently using, are, from my estimate, from the early 90s. I joined the fire department in June of 1991, and we've had those nozzles as long as I can remember. I wasn't the chief then, I didn't buy them, so I'm assuming they're at least that old. So a lot of the equipment that we have, like I say, has a service life on it. Fire gear has 10 years. Fire trucks have 25 to 30 years, depending on their condition. Fire nozzles are kind of in that range of 10 to 15 years, and we're well past that. Now, with the ones we have, do they still work? Yeah, they have some problems. They're old, some parts are missing. We've had to borrow some nozzles. We have some, what we call some lays in the truck. You know, obviously you see when we roll up, we pull the hose off the side of the truck. We also have some special loads, what we call, for us, we call apartment loads. For places with taller buildings, they call a high-rise pack, where you see the firefighter get out and they have a big bundle of hose on their shoulder, and they take it and they can go up the stairs with it. We have several of those. Right now, we have several with no nozzle on them, so we have to pull a nozzle off of one of the other lays to use it, because we call that the apartment lay. When we come up to an apartment, we can lay a larger diameter hose up to the door, hook what they call a gated Y up, and then drop that hose off that shoulder and use that and have plenty of hose to go into the building with. So we have some of those loads on the truck that currently are nozzle-less, and that's what this is. This is a wholesale replacement to replace part of the protective equipment for these guys when they enter an IDLH area, which is immediately dangerous to life and health. And this is, like I say, 25-plus years old equipment. Now, we have a few nozzles that are a little newer, that are on the newer truck, the newer engine, 4621. However, they're not the quality of a nozzle that we're looking for right now. They're an Akron nozzle, which are still a decent nozzle, but they're very difficult to use. We've had trouble with them. So the ideal is they're newer, but the ideal is that we get these nozzles, and then the ones that are on that truck currently, we use as backups. So if we have anything, if we needed, if we did have a problem, we had to send one of the newer ones back to the factory, we'd have a replacement. We don't have that. We are right now one short, besides the nozzles that are on some of the lays for what we call the apartment lay. We have one of our bumper loads that's nozzleless right now. Can we work without it? Yeah, we can move nozzles around if we have to, but that's what this is about. You also see in the invoice, there's what they call a portable monitor on there. A lot of the trucks back in the day, like our older engine, they have the monitor that you've seen on the top of the truck. They call it, those used to be able, you could unpin them, take them down, you could put them on the ground, and they'd have a base. You could hook it to the base and then run it as a portable monitor off the ground. Well, the newer trucks, usually they don't come like that unless you order specific. They come with a permanently mounted one. And that's what this is. This is kind of to get us where we have that again with the newer truck. Newer truck has what they call a telescoping one, but you can't disassemble it and take it off and use it in a remote location. And that's what that's for, for anything like if we have, a lot of times if you have a propane tank, or if you have something like that, where you need a manless, so where you can spray water but not have a person on it. And that can be used for several applications, but that's the other item on there. So this is a wholesale replacement for all of the nozzles, including this portable monitor, which we currently don't have the option for the way they used to come with the trucks used to be. So what we did, and actually Evan headed up the committee, and we talked about it as a department. He headed up the committee for it. We had 3 different demos where we had what we consider the top 2 types of nozzles. Both are in our area. Task Force Tips is out of Valparaiso, Indiana, and of course Elkhart Brass out of Elkhart. And we had them come and they brought trucks with nozzles, or a trailer with nozzles, and we did a demo. We did one with with each, and then we had Elkhart Brass come back again. Because we wanted to verify what we're gonna get the best for our buck here, as far as, you know, obviously in the area, warranty, and reliability. And so that's what we're looking at.
Okay. Just for the audience information and for those watching on YouTube, how many nozzles is that? I know how many there is, but I wanted you to say how many nozzles there were.
On the sheet, there should be 16
Yep.
and one monitor.
Yep.
All right.
'Cause that sounds like a lot of money, so I thought we need to put out there, you know, how many we're buying.
And it is a lot of money. I don't want to play that it's not. But like anything with the fire service, or probably just about anything anywhere, but especially you put fire in front of it, you know, they're not cheap.
Right.
But like I say, what we're looking at is, this is part of these guys' personal protective equipment. When they go into a burning structure, that's their lifeline, that hose line. And the one thing, the nozzles that we're getting have two purposes. That's another reason they're just a little bit more expensive than you'd probably imagine. Not a lot, but they are a little bit, because they have dual purposes. These nozzles have the ability to not only fog, which you probably see a lot of time when the nozzle, you can either go to what they call a straight stream or fog it out to a wide stream. The wide stream is a protective blanket for a firefighter. If things go bad in a building, he can take that, he can make it, and it's a protective curtain. That's his way he can escape out if need to be, besides just dropping it and running. They also have a second option for the fog part of it. You can actually detach and use what they call a straight bore, which you've probably seen in the big cities where a lot of times you'll see a solid stream of water that they're flowing. That's kind of the way they fight fire in the cities. These nozzles have that option, and that's one of the options that we have, so we can fight fire either way we need, if we need more volume or if we need fog. Or we also, on our truck, has what they call the CAVs. It's a compressed air foam system. Compressed air foam basically makes soap bubbles, is really what it makes, and it puts fire out a lot faster. It absorbs all the heat, and you need that straight bore, that smooth bore nozzle in order to do that. So there's a lot of options with these compared to the old ones. So that's what we're looking at. We're getting probably the best bang for the buck with what we had. We had 2 invoices come in. Obviously, you guys are looking at the Moses one. We had another vendor that gave us the same, for the same equipment, but it was a couple $1,000s more for exactly the same thing you're looking at.
Okay. Anything else?
This item is part of the 5-year capital purchasing plan that we've worked out with the fire department. They identified things that have met the life expectancy, and we're in the process of replacing those over the course of 5 years. So this is one of the items we spoke about earlier.
Anyone else? All right. I would like a motion.
I'll make a motion that we move forward with this and get this new equipment at $13,627.
Okay. Carla made the motion. Can I get a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay. Seconded by Commissioner Pat Moore. Roll call, please.
Bianski,
Yes.
excuse me. Hess,
Yes.
Torney,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
unanimous, Your Honor.
Thank you.
One question.
Okay.
Do you run down there to pick up parts ever? Do you know where they're at?
Elkhart
Elkhart Brass?
I haven't in the past, but that would be an option we could do. And since they're so close, it's one of the reasons is both those places are close enough where if we wouldn't have to ship if we needed to. We wouldn't have to wait on shipping.
It's fairly easy to find. It's right
Yeah.
off Oak.
So, but luckily, both the vendors that are probably the top in the country are not
In
far
our
away
area.
from us.
Very nice.
They're a very big vendor. They are a very big vendor.
All right, thank you very
All right,
much.
thank
Thank you
you.
for joining us this evening. All right, we're going to move on to new business item B. Consider City of Buchanan Capital Improvement Plan 2018, and this evening we'll be joined by Scott Dussenberg from our Water Department. Scott? Hello. Hey.
If you guys will remember, I was in here in January of 2016. We first introduced the concept of a capital improvement plan for our water department. We approved our old capital improvement plan, and basically all this is an update to reflect some of the things that we've accomplished off of our old list. And we added a couple of items as far as looking at replacing some of our older water mains and with more accurate pricing than what I had 2 years ago. I don't have the copy of the old plan in front of me, but the two items that we dropped off, one of them, of course, was the water tower coating for the exteriors, both of which have been done for a couple of months now. Front Street was done first in the spring, and then Moccasin over the course of the summer. So we dropped those items off of there. The other one was our meter replacement program. We're basically entering the last year of our real aggressive meter replacements throughout town. We're down to 300 and change in our system that are over 10 years old, and that's down from basically about 1,250 when I first started here. So we've made a ton of progress over the course of the last 4.5 years or so with that program. I went ahead and dropped that off the list. As you can see here, the state wants us to break this down into a 5-year and 20-year plan. And before I get into any of this stuff, it's important to understand up front that approving this is not a mandate. It doesn't bind us to anything. All this is a recognition of tasks that we would like to accomplish going forward. This is saying that we've identified these as being needs within our water system, and we think that these are the most important ones to address. So we can approve this, and it doesn't mean that doggone it, next year we're gonna dig up Peyton Park or anything. It's just a recognition of the fact that these are capital projects that are in our future that we need to plan for. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
So, first item in the 5-year plan, and this was on our plan 2 years ago, is replacement of the water mains in our Peyton Park neighborhood, which consists of Harlan Avenue, Remus Drive, North Lake Street, and North Detroit Street. Neighborhood was built in 1955. Water mains weren't buried deep enough. They weren't bedded well enough. And so we have a lot of problems with freezing, and we have a lot of problems with water main breaks in that neighborhood. In fact, about a month ago, we had to band a water main at the corner of Remus and North Lake Street. So I would say in the time I've been here, probably 85 to 90% of the water main breaks we've experienced in town have been in that 4-block area, or that 1-block area, really, 4 streets. So, number one part of town that we need to look at replacing water main, it's all old 4-inch water main. The state wants it out of there anyway because it's inefficient to pump water through. We would really like to look at getting that replaced with some modern technology. Unfortunately, the cost just for the water end of that would be $700,000. That doesn't count the roads. That doesn't count if we want to look at the sewers, if we want to look at the storm. That's just the water structures in that neighborhood. Water mains, valves, hydrants, service lines, and curb stops.
They run down the center of the street,
Yes,
so we're gonna have to tear a street up.
yes. Yeah, there's no avoiding that.
And where's the sewer lines at? Right down the center of the
More
street?
down the center of the road, yeah.
So it'd be insane not to do both.
Depending on the condition, yes. The only reason I say depending on the condition is, what are you looking at for life expectancy of the road itself? If you say 20 years and you figure you got 30 years left of that sewer pipe, then maybe it does make sense. If you look at it and you say, well, we got 10 years left on this sewer, then you're correct. Yes,
How close are they to the gas mains?
I don't have that
'Cause
information.
gas mains are usually right down the middle with T's to each house.
Actually, they're pretty good about putting the gas mains under the boulevards.
So I'm just curious where Central put their gas mains.
And I don't know where their mains are in that neighborhood.
We would have to check with them, wouldn't we?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, for sure. We don't dig anything without misdigging it and identifying, especially gas. We don't like gas.
For obvious reasons. Okay?
Second item on our 5-year plan, we need to look into a replacement for well 3. It's 66 years old. Life expectancy for a well is about 70 years. So when we have Peerless in here this spring to do their eval, I want to talk to them about possibly pulling that well and cameraing, seeing what kind of integrity we have in the well casing. If it looks like it's deteriorated to a point where rehab isn't an option, then we need to look at drilling a new well. My recommendation would be if we do look at drilling a new well, we do so somewhere other than right down in our McCoy Creek aquifer there. Our three main production wells are all very shallow. They're all sunk into the same aquifer, which makes us vulnerable. We do have well 5 out back that we use as a backup. If we were to put another production well out there, we would have to look at increased treatment at our facility, namely the addition of phosphate for iron removal, iron sequestering.
So where exactly is that?
Well 5, all
Well-
the way out back at the end of the trail.
So where's 3 at, though?
3 is in the cluster of 3, right down by the softball fields.
The old softball fields.
Right, yeah, McCoy Creek Park.
Okay, right down there by the.
Yep, our 3 well houses sit in a cluster right down by the softball fields.
So
there.
our dog park's going down there, right?
Correct.
Was you asked about that?
I've been asked by a couple of city officials, yes.
Okay. So dog poop and dog pee isn't gonna hurt nothing? Sorry,
You recognize the situation
sorry.
that you have placed me in, right?
Well,
I've made my opinion clear. I'm on record as saying that I don't think it's a good idea, but
well, the thing about it is that was not conveyed to us. And you're the professional, you're required by the state to have the certificates. You're the one's head that's on chopping block. And we were led to believe, or I was led to believe by the mayor, that that dog park would have never been put down there anyhow because of where it's at. And it's just a sore point all the way around. So, I mean, I had to ask you, Scott. I'm sorry, but I had to ask you.
my opinion is that the risk is not worth the reward.
Thank you. That's all you need to say.
That's
Thank
my
you.
opinion. But I think it would behoove us to get a well drilled somewhere else to where it's not gonna be in danger of being contaminated if the other 2 were to be contaminated in that area. And that's not the only potential source of contamination. You've got the railroad line that runs.
Would you put it out there by 5 then, or?
I think you have to look at that. I think that based upon the infrastructure that we have with the 12-inch main that they put in when they built 5, I think that's the most logical sense. Like I said, the downside to that water is it's just not as good. We're very fortunate with the water we pump. You know, we've got 40-foot deep wells. We pump water out of the ground that requires almost no treatment. No iron, no detection on iron. Minimal manganese, not enough to be a odor or a taste issue, color issue. The water that comes in from 5 runs 0.5, 0.6 parts per million iron, which can be sequestered, but it's an issue. It would require the installation of phosphate treatment at our facility. We went to it as a main production well. That's just, the water's not as good.
Okay.
So, like I said, I'd like to get Peerless in here and look at developing a plan. It might not be in the next 5 years we drill a new well, but we better have a plan in the next 5 years, basically. 20-year plan, fire hydrants. I told you I took the meter replacement off. I kind of replaced it with fire hydrant replacement. We've got a lot of hydrants in town that are either so old that they don't really provide sufficient water production, or they're so difficult to operate that our guys would have trouble, even big guys with breaker bars, getting them to function. And so, if you think about the hydrant that's right in front of Swem's Funeral Home up there, thing's about this big around where it comes out of the ground, right? If your house catches on fire and you live across the street from that hydrant, that's an issue. We gotta get a hydrant in there with an 8-inch barrel and, you know, 3 nozzles on it. They'll run a 4-inch pumper, provide fire protection for that whole neighborhood down through there. A lot of the Traverse City models that were installed in the 80s don't function very well anymore. The quality of those hydrants was not good. And that's another problem with our fire hydrants is a lot of the older ones actually outperform some of the newer ones. So your replacement rates kind of converge a little bit. I've got 30 hydrants on a list already that I would like to see replaced. We're looking at a schedule of about 10 per year. Replacement of a hydrant and isolation valve costs about $6,000. So we're looking at a cost of, say, $60,000 a year to start bringing those hydrants back up to where they're fully functional. And then the last item on the 20-year plan is again to replace a couple of neighborhoods of old 4-inch water main. Some of the oldest neighborhoods in town down around the old water barn, which was Fireman's Park, Oak in Chicago. You're looking at ductile iron water main, which was installed in the 1920s, 1930s. It's approaching 90 to 100 years being underground. And while we don't see a ton of failure with the mains in that areas, the valves don't work very well. Most of the valves down there, when you turn them, they will leak for a month afterwards before that packing kind of reseals. You know, that was where the water system started. It grew out from there. And yeah, they replaced some of the main transmission lines headed towards the 2 towers, but you're still looking at that original infrastructure as it sits in there. So you can see I've kind of broken it down into some idea type neighborhoods here, but the price tag you're looking at on just the water side of these is significant, to say the least. But that's, you know, and again, all of these projects would incorporate what we get back from SAW grant. What condition is our sewer pipe in? What are we gonna be looking at with our road ratings? Where can we get the most bang for our buck by hitting all 4 of our major assets, you know? That's where the concentration for that money is gonna have to go. Just because I say we got this block at water main's 100 years old and we need to get it out, we gotta look at where we can spend our money the smartest based on all 4 of our major infrastructure. And I say that water, sewer, storm, and roads. You know, we got to capitalize on what we get for, you know, the last thing you want to do is dig up a road, replace the water main, come back 15 years later and replace the sewer. Like you said, that's not a good look. So, you know, I know, you know, and that's why this is all 20-year plan and out. I know that we have to sit down and look at all of those assets together and figure out what's going to offer us the most reward for what we do. So,
Any questions?
Is that it?
that's all I have.
That's enough.
So do you need a motion to just accept your 5-year plan or?
Yep. That's
5 and
correct.
20, right?
5
Yeah,
and 20.
yeah, just accept the water capital improvement plan.
Okay, can someone make a motion, please?
I'll second.
Okay. Moved by Commissioner Dan, seconded by Commissioner Dale. Can I have a roll call, please?
Cole?
Yes.
Hess?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Carney?
Yes.
Bianski?
Yes.
Unanimous, Your Honor.
You're right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, hang on just a second. Commissioner Dale has a question.
Most likely Scott will have to have several meetings and discuss, I think, some of the main issues for our water, which is a big issue to be coming.
But I think, you know, we see a lot of things on the news across
Yep.
the region and across the nation.
Yep.
You know, it's just, a lot of people buried a lot of stuff 100 years ago and just kind of haven't
I
thought
work for a
about it.
utility company in Chicago, so that's why I asked you about mains and Ts and everything else.
Yeah, the gas company's pretty good about installing their stuff on the tree lawns. We're almost always in the street. So, you know, you dig up
It's a
one,
major project.
it's this.
Thank you for coming this evening.
Thanks, Scott. Thank you.
Alrighty, we're up to item C under new business. Discuss proposal for an adult softball league is unanimously recommended by the Buchanan Area Recreation Board, otherwise known as the BARB. And this evening we'll be hearing from Angie Harkrider. Angie? Good evening.
Stephen's with me tonight.
Excellent. Welcome.
Well, we are here to get permission to use Russell and Fisher Field to start an adult softball league. Our thoughts on it is to start off with to have it on Sunday afternoons. It's gonna be a co-ed. We're looking anywhere from like 6 to 8 teams to start with, and hopefully we'll grow from there.
All right.
Go ahead. Where is your income going to come from? What kind of expenses are you looking at?
Normally, from all the leagues around here, we play in leagues all around here. You start with an entry league. Niles per se is 600. Byers and South Bend is 1,000 to like 800.
They're a lot.
Three Oaks is like 400. You get what you pay for at the places. For the amenities. So that's why where we were interested in starting back up in Buchanan, because we used to play in Buchanan when they had the leagues here in previous years. That they did as long as we've been alive. But we were looking at to start around 400 for a price point. That's what we put out there on the social media to our softball pages that we're on a network of, just to see if we could get feedback, because everybody loves the facility here in Buchanan. They always have. It's a nice park and a nice venue. And we got a lot of feedback on the $400 price range, and that covers like 70 to 80% of it covers umpires. I mean, because when I just scratched it on paper, because you never know what you're going to get until you put it out there to see if you're going to get 2 teams, 8 teams, or no teams. And just to see, I broke it down, and if I did, the 6 teams that I got feedback on the managers that said, yeah, we're interested, I broke it down at 400 a team. You turned out with that money. Then after umpires, you came out with, I think, $600 in profit. But then after your ball expenses, chalk expenses, and just field maintenance, it's going to be like, I'm sure it's similar to Chris and the BYSB. It's just a volunteer loss, just to have something for us to do and to do. It's going to be more hard work and losses than I think gains. You only really tournaments, you can probably make money when you hold tournaments on the weekend, but regular leagues, it's a minimal gain. We're just looking
Very
to
minimal, yeah.
use
So
the
with this-
facilities and.
With this 400, is that like divided among your team members that they pay that, or how or a
The 400,
sponsor?
we're gonna try to start a league just like anybody does it, and with a board, and like I'm saying,
It'll be $400 per team.
$400 per team entry fee
The
for a 20 team schedule. I mean, a 10-week schedule, double headers. And then you got umpire fees, is $30 per umpire per game. So that's after a 10-week season, it works out per team, like 300 of their cost goes just totally to umpires. And then the rest, like you're saying, that would be chalk maintenance, field maintenance, ball maintenance.
Right.
Upkeep on whatever, just organization skills,
Yeah, I understand.
All right.
Would you write your own bylaws? And are we gonna be able to make these people a separate entity like the BYSBA? Because I know that's what it was, because I mean, the bars in town were supported by the Women's League, and it went by the wayside quite a while ago. I
Right.
mean, we don't have any factory workers here,
Right.
and I mean, your sponsorships, your banners, you can do almost everything that they do in the softball league or the baseball league. As far as fundraisers, it just depends on how aggressive the people are that are in it. So basically, you're here just to ask permission to do this?
Yes.
Yeah, just to use the fields.
And like you're saying, Dan, and if we did get permission, we'd set our own bylaws, just like BYSB does, and work co-in-hand with them. We've already spoke to them a little bit, if we did get permission, like we spoke to her before in the bar meetings about, maybe use a concession if we did, or let them run concession. Whatever, maybe that's what we've done down there before when we've had tournaments and worked hand in hand. They've garnered money off our tournament with their concessions, because we're not looking at, we're
Well, I
going
know,
to go to the
I know.
kids.
The first year, I mean, yeah, I know.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to give them permission.
I'll
All
second.
right. The motion was made by Commissioner Dan, seconded by Commissioner Dale. Need a roll call, please?
Hess,
Yes?
Moore,
Yes.
Call,
Yes.
Carney,
Yes.
Bianski,
Yes.
Thank you.
unanimous, Your Honor.
Thank
luck,
you.
guys.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing something back to Buchanan that people miss. Yes, thank you. All right, we're under new business item D. Consider Department of Environmental Quality fiscal year 2018 Wellhead Protection Program grant agreement in the amount of $3,675 and authorize the mayor to sign and the zoning administrator to administer. Total project $7,350. Bill, did you want to speak about
Yes,
this?
Mayor, Commissioners, this is a grant that we've had for the last 3 years. Again, we submitted again to keep the program going. We were awarded $3,675, which is a 50% match for the funding to keep the Wellhead Protection Committee going and the effort to educate the community on the sensitivity of the wellhead protection area. Again, that area is runs from right around US 12, just south of US 12, to the north into our well field and not too far past our wells. But and it's, I don't know, probably a quarter mile wide, if that.
Maybe a half mile wide in the widest part.
Yeah. So there's a plume area that where our 3 wells are actually located, as well as well 5. So this money is available through rural water and the state MDEQ to help us have a committee that has some oversight and interest in that area. And through that program, we do educational efforts. And in front of you, you have some of the placemats we've created that we've made available to local restaurants to use, library and such. You're also been gifted with a $2 bottle of a advertisement, part of our education with the schools. We bought 390 of these bottles for the school kids to use and understand. Also, over by Deb Haight over there, we've got 2 water models that we purchased with these funds. And again, these are pretty expensive models, but they're very valuable in displaying what happens to water when it hits the ground, how it filters through the different environments, and how we end up recycling it. So we're very pleased with the purchase of those. Again, we're working with the school system to try to coordinate the times through the year where we can get in and display this process to a lot of the school kids. So, and again, Scott and Craig are part of that group that will be helping the teacher in the science classes at school to do these presentations. It's again a 50% match on this grant. Deb Patzer will be doing the paperwork, submitting the paperwork, as well as the assistant, basically provided by rural water, helps us to organize and move this project and this effort forward. So there's a lot of positives with it.
Any questions from the commission? Okay, yes, Commissioner Moore?
The models are going to be available for people to look at, or are they going to the schools, or how are we going to utilize
We
those?
set the models out tonight for display, but they do go into the hard-packed travel cases, and when the school and the teachers can insert the program into their curriculum, they'll travel to the school for use there. And again, they're purchased through the city, but the primary use will be for the school, so they may end up being stored there. But, so.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? All right.
I'll make the move that we approve the fiscal year 2018 Wellhead Protection Program grant agreement in the amount of $3,675 and authorize the mayor to sign and the zoning administrator to administrate the total project at $7,350.
I'll support.
Okay, so moved by Commissioner Turney, supported by Commissioner Moore, or I'm sorry, Commissioner Cole. Sorry about that. I need a roll call, please.
Moore,
Yes.
Bianski,
Yes.
Hess,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
Torney,
Yes.
unanimous, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, Gladys. Now we're on new business item E. We're going to discuss the canceling of the December 26th rescheduled regular meeting due to the holiday.
Yeah, Mayor, Commissioner, we have in the past had absentees that would have caused the lack of a quorum for a commission meeting. Again, we're talking the 26th, which is the day after Christmas. And again, I'm not sure how many commissioners will be available for, to hold that meeting. So that's what the discussion is about.
I won't be here.
Okay, Commissioner Cole. Commissioner Dan, you had your hand
Be
up?
here. I don't think, as busy as we are, we should cancel this meeting, as long as there's 3 of us that can show up. As much as we got going on, there's no way. I mean, we canceled December or September 11th, and I didn't really squawk about that. And I felt, even at that time, we could have paid our respects because we've got so much going on. Everybody has to go back to work that day, except for government workers. I mean, if you have holidays and family commitments, that's one thing, but on the other hand, 3 of 5 ought to be able to show, and if Gladys can't show or Bill can't show, I mean, we can still conduct a meeting. There's some things that we can still do.
Okay, anyone else want to offer up their opinion?
Well, I got family coming in, so
Okay.
I'd rather be with family.
Okay. All right, I need a motion to cancel the December 26th regular meeting.
Also move.
Okay, do I have support?
Support.
Okay, moved by Cole, seconded by Turney. I need a roll call, please.
Bianski,
No.
Hess,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Torney,
Yes.
Cole,
Yes.
unanimous, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor.
Yes.
I'm sorry. It wasn't unanimous.
I'm sorry, passed by majority, Your Honor.
Yes, Commissioner Dan?
Based on the information that we weren't given and the information I got tonight, I want to make a motion right now that the dog park and where it's located be put on hold immediately. I would really like to get a second for that.
Point of order.
Yes, Commissioner Moore?
The dog park is not on the agenda for this evening, and I would respectfully ask that be added to another meeting's agenda.
I don't see where it's necessary, because there's been plenty of things that you've done that hasn't been on the agenda. What was it? 3 buses that sat in the parking lot for 6 months, and that was on comments. And this is the water. This is the water. So actually, my motion could be brought up and should be discussed right now, even though it's not on the agenda, because it wasn't going to be on the agenda unless I put it on there anyhow.
You're right.
I will put it on there for the next meeting, I promise, but
Okay, Commissioner Dale?
I understand Commissioner Finansky's opinion, but I think it has to be on the agenda so that we can generally discuss the situation. And I think there's a few other questions about the repayment of the dog park too. So, but it's not on the agenda. I understand, Dan, what you're bringing up, but I think correct rules would has to be on the agenda.
I think we would personally like some time to look into it so we have appropriate information and can ask enough questions too. Yes, Commissioner Dan?
I just want to make sure that all of you remember that the next time something else comes up. Because, no, if you're not gonna do this, this is extremely, extremely important. There's not really anything we need to discuss. Do you want dog urine and dog crap in your water? What do you have to think about?
All right, well,
Your Honor.
we'll make sure it gets on a future agenda. And Commissioner Moore?
Part of the issue with the agenda, bringing up something now after we've moved away from the item D, which is basically talking about the wellhead protection program. And just a point of information, the dog park location was approved by that group and MDEQ. So we have all the approvals for the placement that we need in writing from those organizations. So I don't want to leave the group with the idea that there's any imminent danger. There's, I'm sure, a varying difference of opinion, but we have all of the necessary process has been attended to.
Okay, thank you. All right, and with that, we're up to item number 9, public comments. Citizens are allowed up to 3 minutes to discuss any non-agenda item. And I'm going to take this time to speak as a citizen and not as the mayor. Gladys, will you make sure that I adhere to my 3 minutes, please?
Yes.
My name is Brenda Hess. I live at 601 Ottawa Court, and I am going to try this evening to get through a very important Facebook post that it was called to my attention earlier this evening. And I'm going to read this on behalf of someone who could not be here this evening. And I accidentally surfed away from it, so it will take me just a second to find it. Well, you know, technology is great when it's working, when it's not. Of course, now it's not going to come up at all. This might not be a go.
Can you give us a condensed version?
I believe I should read it verbatim.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Would you like to see if there's somebody else who wants to make a comment, and if you can try to get your,
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
Norma Ferris, 304 North Oak. I like this. I can tell that you are listening to me
We like it too,
and
or I
not
do.
flying off. Next, encourage residents, commercials to clean off their sidewalks. I will walk in the street if they are not cleaned off because I'm not injuring myself again. Next, Township of Buchanan has their own flag. I found out yesterday.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Thank you, Norma. Okay, who else would like to come up this evening? Okay, my technology problem has been solved. Thank you for your patience. I'm going to give this a second go. Hello, my name is Brenda Hess. I live at 601 Ottawa Court. I'm here on behalf of an anonymous resident who wanted me to read this evening. You cannot possibly fathom what it's like to get a phone call that the EEG performed on your child came back abnormal. That pit in your stomach you've had for months as the pieces of your child's actions started to come together. It is now in your throat and you are unable to speak because your fear is now a reality.
You don't know what it's like to get a phone call from the school that your daughter has fallen through the center of a moving tire swing onto her head. 2 weeks later, she gets into your car with a huge knot on her head and a phone call that she ran into the swing's metal pole. Not a normal mishap for a coordinated 9-year-old girl. You do not know what it's like to sit at your kitchen table doing homework with your child, and she looks up and stares for 30 seconds, unaware of her surroundings or us calling out her name. And this happens one right after another for over 2 hours. You do not know what it's like to watch your daughter walk down the same hallway in your home and stop in the very same spot in your living room as the TV lights flicker and she begins to stumble over her words and flutter her eyelids so fast that you couldn't replicate it. You do not know what it's like to give your child a medication that tastes so terrible that she throws up or begs to not take another sip. On top of that, the medication causes stomach pains. Imagine having to take that medicine twice a day, and when that medication doesn't work, you move on to another medication that is known for causing liver failure, changes of mood, and so dangerous that you have to get enzymes checked regularly, and it has to be taken down step by step to come off of it. You don't know what it's like to watch your normal, happy, loving child turn into an angry, emotional, depressed little soul with empty eyes who wants to give up on life. You do not know what it's like to watch your daughter quit a sport she loves so much because her lack of ambition and love of life is gone. When that medication proves not to work, you move on to the next medication whose side effects include a life-threatening rash that covers her body. And when that one doesn't work, you move on to the next medication that inhibits their ability to function. You don't know what it's like to watch your child's personality drastically change due to the medication side effects, a medication that she has to take to live. You don't know what it's like to wake your daughter up in the morning and you can't get her out of bed because she's been up all night having a seizure. If you don't know what it's like, you can't possibly have an opinion on the legality of CBD or medical marijuana issues. Imagine having to take a medication each and every day because your life depends on it, but the medication side effects don't give you much of a real life to live. Imagine medication that you take now, and now imagine that that medication is being illegal. Now what? Imagine being 10 years old and your life depends on a medication that alters your current quality of life. Imagine a drug out there that could change your life, give you life, and not harm your body, but then try to explain to your 10-year-old that that medication is illegal, while here in Michigan it is legal. We are unable to travel with it because traveling across state lines in a state whose laws still make this illegal, we now become a family of drug traffickers. You don't know what it's like, but she does. Help her, help our daughter, help others, help make this legal across the country. If you are interested in learning more or have questions, you can come to the Buchanan Senior Center on December 19th to ask questions from 6 to 8. Thank you.
And that's why I voted for it.
Thank you. Okay, with that, is there anyone else for public comments this evening? All right, and with that, we'll go on to the city manager's comments. Bill.
Mayor and Commissioners, in your briefing, you were provided with copies of the RFQ that was put out for the wastewater treatment plant update. Again, that was provided to you since it does require some reading, and I'm hoping that maybe we could get a work session together, possibly just to go over those two submissions and maybe have a discussion about how you want to proceed farther with that. Some of our options with that is if you feel confident at the time we review the FRQs, and you want to select one of those companies to work with, we could do that, or we can move on to an RFP, which would kind of open the bidding process again and see if we could spur any more attention to our project, because we've had we had 2 companies respond. I was hoping to get more, but we ended up with 2. Everybody is busy. I mean, we received 2 quality submissions, which are the RFQs, or requests for qualifications, 2 quality companies that have experience in the realm of building these plants for us to review. So, I'm just bringing that up, that somewhere in the near future, if you want to sit down and have a work session, we can try to plan one to review the information and talk about where we want to go from there. I don't know if the 18th would be something you'd want to consider, which is next Monday.
That's a national holiday. It's my birthday. I probably won't be available.
Well, I'm taking the day off from work then.
I go,
Thanks.
ooh, that's a new holiday to me. But or some other evening. If you see some benefit in that, and I think there is, if we can get together. It wouldn't have to be a very long session, just to review the 2 qualifications that they presented to us, and then have a discussion about maybe where what we have, where we want to be, and could go out for RFPs thereafter.
What about the 19th? That'd be a Tuesday.
That's
I
fine
don't
with me.
think there's any major.
Tuesday's Tuesday, that special meeting at the senior center. I will be at that meeting.
Oh,
The meeting is from 6 to 8.
oh, okay.
Yeah, there aren't too many open dates in the.
I can make it the 26th.
Very, very good, Dan.
It amazes me, I mean, it amazes me.
Not only you're a curmudgeon, you're what do they call the
I
other
don't really
guy?
care when you schedule it because,
He's a Grinch.
I'll be
Grinch,
here or I
Grinch.
won't.
21st, maybe?
I'll be out
21st.
of town.
The girl.
I'll be gone for
I
2
can't do
weeks.
the 21st, I'm sorry.
The 18th is good.
Why don't we flip a coin right
We
now?
do the 18th,
We have,
and then if you have questions, you can get them to one of us, and we'll get your answers. Or?
Sure, because I don't know if I'll be back.
Okay.
Because I got another meeting to go to right after my celebration.
Are you sure you want to do it in that order? I'm just asking. Anyways.
I'm going to get Evan. He's going to have to
I think the
save me.
18th would be fine if that, Commissioner Moore, what's your 18th looking like?
That's okay with me.
All right. Can we go for the 18th?
18th, 6 o'clock?
Yeah,
or-
6 o'clock. Let's do that.
6 o'clock?
Can I get in here for a short period, and if I have to leave, I
Yes,
can go?
absolutely.
Does that work?
Absolutely.
I don't see the session being very long. We got two documents to look over, and you have copies of those already. And
Okay.
Gladys, also the clerk, has copies for the public to look at as well.
Okay.
Can we talk about the dog park then too?
Don't push it. Okay, so on the 18th at 6 p.m., the public is also invited to that, by the way.
Yes.
All right, anything else from city manager comments this evening?
I have some.
Okay.
Some more. I think it needs to be said in the information that was presented here tonight is that regarding the dog park, I personally contacted the MDEQ, asked them for their standards in consideration of the placement of the dog park on the ball field in McCoy Creek Park. It should be known that the guidance they provided me with is that as long as we were not putting the dog park within 200 feet of a well, they were perfectly fine with the placement. The dog park location to our closest well is over 500 feet. So that's some information that needs to be added to the conversation tonight. Again, I do agree that it can be put on a future agenda for discussion. So, I mean, that's some of the comments I have. Again, the first bout of cold weather and snow always is challenging for DPW. And that was not anything less this year than it has been in the past. It's challenging for any Michigan driver to get their, snowshoes on and understand it. From here on out, I think, they always joke about Michigan drivers that after the first snow, the next snowstorm will be driving 70 miles an hour in whiteout conditions. But the first one's always been a challenge. And again, it was kind of a perfect storm in that it arrived at the morning commute, and it all appeared at once, and so we were frozen pretty quickly. And so we had some challenges trying to keep the streets salted in our efforts. And so I know our guys work hard, and they're out there a lot of hours when we have to have them out plowing. It's a challenge. I mean, 14 years ago, or multiple years ago, we had 14 workers out at DPW. Now we have 5. So the challenge is increased with those numbers. But anyway, so we do try to ask all property owners to take some management of their walks, so they plow them, shovel them for pedestrian access and use. We try to open up certain routes for school traffic, our own selves. So, and we try to get to the downtown area to keep those streets or those sidewalks open as well. So I want to also say that the new push box that we purchased really works quite well. It has significantly reduced the time of maneuvering the snow out of downtown into the parking area off of Days Avenue. So we're quite pleased with that performance as well. So that's all I have.
I got a question for you. Wasn't the MDEQ the same people that oversee Flint? I mean, that's not really good credentials. Wasn't they the ones that were, for all intents and purposes, overseeing Flint? I mean, the thing about it is we have an operator, and I'm not putting you on the spot, Scott, but the thing about it is we were led to believe that it wasn't gonna go down there. And I mean, there's so many questions about this, and then I get shut down. So, I mean, wasn't the MDEQ the same people that were overseeing Flint? It was actually the EPA that was overseeing Flint. So, I mean, as far as that's not credible at all. I'm sorry. I'm done.
All right, moving on to commissioners' comments. Let's start down on this end this evening. Commissioner Turney?
Thank you, Your Honor. Just got 2 announcements. Tomorrow night, there's going to be a big planning commission meeting. We're going to have 5 special use permits to be presented with the people who are going to improve the quality of life, which is what they're trying to do here, and what they are actually going to do. They have to come in front of the Planning Commission. So it's going to be 7 p.m. So if anybody wants to come, you're welcome to visit that. I will be here. The second thing is, the mayor kind of touched on it tonight. There's a medical cannabis seminar that's going to be, they were partnering with the Senior Center and with Ohm Medicine of Ann Arbor to welcome Dr. David K. Dotson, MD, to the Senior Center on Tuesday, December 19th at 6 p.m. to present informative program on medical cannabis and to answer related questions. Dr. Dotson was born and raised in Buchanan. He is currently a licensed medical doctor in Minnesota with the Board of Medicine and Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA. He is a registered healthcare practitioner in Minnesota for certification of patients with qualifying conditions for Minnesota's medical cannabis program and medical director of opioid treatment program with 4 locations in the Twin City area and utilizes other facilities. So I invite everybody to come. Maybe some of your questions can be answered. And hopefully we'll see you there. Tuesday, 6 p.m. at the Senior Center, December 19th. Hopefully we'll see some of you tomorrow night at the Planning Commission. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Cole?
Yeah, I just want to compliment the guys who've been plowing. From what I've seen, they've done a great job getting rid of the snow and keeping our streets clear. I also want to wish everyone a safe and happy holiday, and I'm going to use Merry Christmas to everyone.
All righty, thank you. Commissioner Dan?
I got a question for Carla. Out there at the landfill, do they have any way of getting rid of seagulls, or do they do anything about getting rid of seagulls out there? Do you know?
I can't answer that, Dan. I'll have to ask.
Because the landfill in Waterfleet has the federal permit to have the gun out there, and they have 5 registered killers, hunters, whatever you want to call them. They don't have a seagull fry. They don't have a seagull roast. They just leave the seagulls. But
They have a special permit?
there's a
for
federal
that?
mandated permit to kill seagulls, of course. Just anything that any government can get a nickel out of. But he has the license, and he told me today, because I delivered to him today, that he would sign. I know. I thought maybe we could take a bunch of hunters out there and just have a seagull fry. But
Yuck.
why? Pigeons,
I know
chickens.
we do have a bald eagle out there, so maybe the eagle will take care of that
Well,
problem.
there's a couple 100,000 birds out there. I wanted to ask Gladys about the difference between municipal and residential as far as the township and that rezoning that they're doing out there. Do you know what the difference is, Gladys? No? Does anybody?
No.
I'll have to look it up. All right. There's one other thing. PUD. Gladys, can you help me with that one? I looked that one up. PUD zoning. We have a
Plan unit development? Is that what
Yes,
you're talking about?
That's part of the Planning Commission.
Yeah.
So can you answer that?
No, I'm not one of these, I'm just a city. I learn each
Yeah,
city
I'm
I
not-
go to, I learn, Dan.
I didn't ask you about BBB, so I won't. But I did, didn't I? Mr. Adams, he knows what BBB is. Buchanan, Bertrand, and Bakertown, or, yeah, I didn't ask you about it, so I won't. That's all I got.
All
Have a
right.
good Christmas.
Commissioner Moore?
I just wanted to start with saying happy birthday, Dale. Hope you have a
Yes.
pleasant
Happy birthday.
birthday.
Thank you.
And I wanted to also express my appreciation and thanks to Lieutenant Evan Kaufman, because I had some out-of-town visitors that I saw some action around the fire station, so we came and he was kind enough to show us some of the equipment and the trucks, and my friends were very impressed. In fact, the one sent me a rock in the shape of a stack of pancakes. So I will be giving that to you guys as a way to help promote your next pancake breakfast. So, and that's also big on the Buchanan Rocks group. So, the chief has it in his office, so if you want to check it out. So, also, I wanted to bring up something that happened at the last meeting. There were some accusations. If you were here at the last meeting, one of the commissioners was accusing city employees of giving away equipment and all kinds of accusations flying about the snow push box thing. Well, our staff dug out all the information for the person, and everything was taken care of. The whole process was done. expertly, and we all voted on it back in April to sell that equipment that was being bandied about, that someone gave it away. We had, and actually it was good to kind of review that because we got a great deal on that equipment, and that box that was questioned was part of the attachments that went. So I was waiting for tonight for someone to kind of correct the public record to, you know, when you start accusing employees of doing something that they're not end up doing, you should at least correct your inference or your accusation. And we have not heard that, so on behalf of the commissioners.
The thing about it is it was taken care of off the record. And
But
I
you
asked
put
the
it
question-
on the
I
record,
asked the city
and I am-
manager and the DDA that night. I didn't get any answers that night or the next day.
Yeah, point of order.
And then,
Okay.
no, there was no point of order on this, because I'm tired of getting beat up down here by Miss Pat Moore. The thing about it is I asked your city manager and your zoning administrator, and I didn't get any answers the
Okay,
next day.
all right, we got it. Okay.
So you can sit down here and accuse me all you want to.
Dan, come on.
No,
Yes.
no, I'm
You-
tired of
You
it.
can talk to her after the meeting if you'd like to.
No,
Thank you.
I want it on record. Hello, YouTube.
All right. Well, it's
If
my
I may
turn.
finish my
Yes.
comments.
Please do.
I want it on the record that what the inference was about the equipment, there was nothing untoward about it. Everything was handled properly back in April. So I just correcting that, and I do not want
Nobody said anything or nobody remembered it either, and I just.
anybody
I
to,
questioned it. I didn't
Which-
accuse anybody. I questioned it.
She has her
we
turn.
have an oversight responsibility over the equipment. That, I have no problems with someone questioning something. But before the information is given to you to accuse people of doing something wrong in front of the public, when you don't have the facts, that is wrong. And that is the inference that I'm correcting tonight. There was nothing that our city employees from the top to the bottom did wrong about that equipment. We all voted on it back in April. It was all taken care of. And to talk to those people, our employees, the way you did it the last meeting, and yeah, go ahead on YouTube. You can see your behavior. It's shameful. And that's the end of my comments.
Okay.
Can I rebut that?
No, you can talk to her after the meeting, as I stated previously. Thank you. It's my turn for comments. First of all, I would like to thank all of you for coming this evening. I know that sometimes people are reluctant to come to the podium and make comments because you're unsure. We hope that by having our new system where you're closer to us and you can talk directly to us, it's not quite so intimidating because the audience is actually behind you and you can gather your thoughts. You can also bring paper. And again, I would like to thank everyone for continuing to come to meetings because, as previously stated, for a long time we were speaking to a party of one or two, maybe five. And sometimes by the ends of meetings, it would dwindle. We are charged with representing you, making sure that we spend your tax dollars correctly, and we make boring decisions sometimes, but the boring decisions that we make with your interests in mind. All of our phone numbers and email addresses are on our city website. Please do not hesitate to reach out to us and let us know your opinion about different ideas. Most of us have daytime jobs. Usually email is the best way to get a hold of us. And if you don't hear from us within a reasonable amount of time, please know that we will get to you. But we are here to serve you, and as Gladys stated this evening, the nomination forms, if you would be interested in joining us and running against any of us, is April 24th at 5 p.m. So if you're interested in taking a leadership role in the city, we would welcome you. So please, there are also lots of boards and committees you can
join. And if you have questions about that, you can call me or you can call Gladys. She is a wealth of information. We are very lucky to have the city clerk that we do, and we appreciate her. And I would like to wish everyone happy holidays, Merry Christmas, however you celebrate. I hope that your holidays are safe, and I appreciate you as residents and citizens of this fine town. So with that, I'd like to have a motion to adjourn.
Also move.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting adjourned.
You can play your games, Pat, all you want to. It ain't gonna stop me from beating you up on that dog park. I'm really tired of you, though.
I really am tired. Scott, thanks for.
You can call me a bully and you can call me names and you can get mad at me for calling you out on your dog park.